Hi there and welcome to today's video. I'm going to show you how to get this look using one palette only, and it's the McGrath Celestial Odyssey palette. So if you want to see how I did my cheeks and my eyes using this palette, then please keep on watching. Since I'm doing a giveaway, I thought I would feature this palette in a couple videos, especially with the holiday season. So today's going to be just an everyday kind of holiday look using this palette, but also using it to complete the rest of my face, because I think having palettes that you can use in different ways is really important. And this being such an expensive palette, it's really nice to know that you can use it in different ways. When I first opened it, there was lots of colors that I saw in here that I thought would be perfect for blushes. You've got a couple cute pinky tones here and here. And then there's also this shade right here and this shade right here that might work as a bronzer. They are meant to be shadows on the lid. They can be a little bit more impactful and have a lot more pigment. So when you're placing those in other places other than your eyes, you need to have a bit of caution when doing that. Let's get into the video. I'm pretty excited to put this on. I already have my foundation, primer, concealer, and powder on, just because I obviously can't get that out of this. So I'll tell you what I'm wearing. I first primed using the Laneige Glowy makeup serum, this right here. Then I used the Dior Forever Skin Glow foundation. I'm in the shade 1N. Then I also used the Rare Beauty concealer. It's just one I really like, so I thought I would start using this again. For powder, I used the Fenty Pro Filt'r loose setting powder. Then I went in with my brows with the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil in the shade 3. And then I did put brow gel on because I knew I'd kind of be sitting here for a bit and it would have time to dry. So I used the Benefit Gimme Brow. I think that's everything on my face. Let's get into the powders. For this video, I'm definitely gonna be using the back of my hand a lot to work with the powders. So let's do bronzer first. What you're gonna want if you're going to be using a palette is brushes that are a little bit on the smaller side. You don't want a giant fluffy brush. You really don't want something like this that has a lot of surface area, because that's gonna go into like 3 powders and I don't want that. I need something that can fit nicely into one of these pans. Eyeshadow palettes that have larger pan sizes are great for this as well. Say this is a bit medium size, we could maybe have them a bit bigger, but honestly this'll work nicely because there are bigger gaps in between the shadows, which will help when I'm putting the brush in. Let's do bronzer. I'm going to tap into this one first. I'm using a Katie Jane Hughes Spectrum brush. As you can see, the end is very much tapered and it's a lot smaller, so it's going to fit quite nicely right in there. So I'm pushing it in and you can see there's pigment there. And now tap it off, and then on the back of my hand I'm kind of just going to work it in to get a light color and see how that's going to look. I think that's going to work nicely. So let's go in. Oh yeah. There's definitely a lot of pigment coming off of this, but I'd say that's a really good shade match. So I'm going to go back in, tap it off, and before I go into my face, I'm just going to put it on the back of my hand. And then I'm just going to take it up to my forehead, where I would typically bronze. That looks pretty good. If you want, you can, I'm going to go back in, just grab a little bit more and really work it in. Just bronze up a little bit more, just till I get to a color that I'm happy with. You can see it's not patchy, it's blended out really nice and smooth. My skin is still showing some glow. It's given me a little bit of coverage and the color is really nice. and complementary. So I used the, just to recap, the lightest shade here. There's definitely a darker shade that could be used for medium to dark skin tones. Now for blush, I'm gonna use a smaller brush like this. This is a Luxie 660 Precision Foundation brush. I really like to use this type of brush for a bunch of different purposes. It's great for foundation, it's great for concealer, it's awesome for bronzer, cream blush. This one in particular, I think I have it in like 3 different colors, but it's the same brush and I use it in a variety of ways. I'm gonna look at these. There are 2 colors in here as well for blushes. This one's a little bit more cool toned and rosy. This one's definitely more coral and pink. Because I'm playing with this green and I'm also gonna be playing with this brown here, I think I want to use, I'm gonna use this rosy toned one. Just going to dab that in. You can see it picked up quite a bit. So I'm gonna tap that off. You don't have to use the back of your hand. You can also use just like a fresh Kleenex and pat it in like that if you don't like to get your hands dirty. So I've taken off a good amount. I'm just gonna do this on the back of my hand because it's the easiest and it's with me all the time. Then I'm gonna go and pat that right here. Just giving me a really, really nice tone to my cheeks. And a little goes a long way with this. You really don't need a lot. If you forgot to take any of the excess off and dab it into a Kleenex or the back of your hand, and you went straight on your cheek and suddenly there was a lot of pigment, you could use the brush that you used for foundation, for concealer, or also for powder and go on top and just kind of cover that and take away some of the pigment. That will also help. Or grabbing a clean brush and just gently swiping it away. That's another trick to help get rid of all the pigment. So I feel like my blush is at a really good spot. For highlighter, we have 2 options. This is where it's gonna get a little bit tricky and you have to be mindful we're going in with like a shimmery shade. So actually I think there's about 3. There's this one right here, which is really pink and I think it'd be good for deeper skin tones. There's this nice lavender shade and then we have this kind of creamy gold shade. I was thinking between this lavender shade and this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick them up with my hand, apply them to the back of my hand very sheer and see which one's gonna look a little bit better. They're right there. And because I have some of the colors already here on the back of my hand, I can see how it's going to work with those shades. Yeah, I think it's very clear which one to go with now that I've done that. Definitely going with the more creamy gold shade, which will probably also be my inner corner highlight. And you can see if you take down some of the shine, you're left with a really subtle glow. I'm just gonna use my finger and just pinpoint. Now there are some glitter pieces in there. It's looking a little bit chunky, but what I'm gonna do is gonna use the brush that I used for powder and wipe away some of that glitter. And then just remember that that brush that I've used to wipe away the glitter now has glitter in it and I can't use it for my face again. Definitely getting a nice glow now. Taking that brush, just kind of working it out. Don't want to bring the glitter in towards my face. I'm sweeping it outwards, just very lightly in like light circular motions. I'm going to take a look at my skin, see how it's performing. If there's anything I need to touch up, I think everything's looking really nice. We're ready to go into the eyes. So I'm gonna go back into the color that I used for my bronzer, which is gonna actually tie this look together. You can see a little goes a long way. just build up a little bit more. And then what I like to do before I move on to something else is to just run that same color underneath to connect the bottom with the top. And we go here. And then I'm going to go back in with a smaller fluffy brush, and I'm actually going to take the color of the blush on my cheeks and place that through the crease. This is just going to keep tying in the look together because the color that I have on my cheek here is being replicated on top, but in kind of like a sandwich. So I have the bronzer color here, then I have the bronzer color here, and then on top I've got the blush, and then at the bottom I've got the blush. And then whatever like sparkle I put on my lid, I'm gonna have the inner corner highlight match the same as the highlight, and it'll just look like a very cohesive look. And like I tried really hard, but actually this is very quick makeup. And that's kind of what I like about it, is it just looks like you tried really hard, but you didn't really. Now I'm going back in with the brush that I used for like the bronzer through the crease, and I'm not adding any more pigment. I'm just blending the two together. Thankfully with Pat McGrath powders, they work so well that you don't really need to blend too much. Now we're gonna go on the lid. I'm gonna go into this kind of minty green. That's it right here. It's quite pretty, but it's also very light. And a bit did fall down, but that's okay. We're gonna clean it up. Now it's kind of clashing with the shirt I'm wearing. We're gonna fix that. I'm gonna go do the same onto the other lid. And I just want to point out that this is one dab. I just pressed in once, picked up the pigment on the back of my hand, which I think is the best way to apply metallic or shimmer shades from Pat McGrath. Just like the natural oils from your fingertips just help adhere it to the lid better than using a brush. I find if you use a brush, you'll lose some of the sparkle and shine to it, and it just becomes a little bit more dull. And so you can see like how impactful that is and how like brilliant it's shining. Just one dip. I'm gonna go into this brown shade right here. You could also use this like taupey shade beside it, but because most of my blush is a little bit, or most of my bronzer is a little bit warm, I wanna keep in the warm tone because this is actually pretty cool and I don't wanna shift the look. So I'm gonna pat my finger in, pick that up there, and blend these two together. And now that's kind of gonna give me like a grungy green that matches more with the shirt I'm wearing. It's a little bit of like a gold green. And that's a nice thing with pat shadows. You can mix them to make a different shades and tones. And because you get so many in here, you're able to make a plethora of color combinations. Now that I've kind of got the shape, I'm gonna go back in with that brush, smaller crease fluffy brush, and just kind of blend these together. Now, if you wanted to kind of match the top with the bottom, taking the brush that I used for the bottom kind of lash line, I'm gonna mix into this green here and into this brown, tap it off and focus it right on the outer edge here. It's just gonna make it a little bit more cohesive. there we go. Last thing is just gonna take my pinky into this creamy light gold shade here. You can pick it up like that. It's kind of like a cream pearl. Focus it in my inner corner so I can match the highlight. If you wanted to be a little extra and you had some more time, you could totally take some wing liner and line it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I have to say this kind of like grungy gold green is one of my favorite colors. I don't know if I already said that, but I just love how it looks. Pretty much done. We just need to add mascara and a lip, and obviously for this, to make it look like I really tried, I'm going to use a red lip, and I think it's just going to look really nice and holiday appropriate, but also make it look a little bit more glam, even though this look really didn't require much effort. I'm going to use a combination of the Clinique High Impact Mascara with the Flower Beauty Lash Warrior Mascara. And then for lips, so I'm going to use this BareMinerals Barepro lipstick red lip here. That's what it looks like. I think it's going to look really nice with this. But first I'm going to line, and I'm going to use the Maybelline Coloursensational Shaping Lip Liner in the shade 145 Very Cherry. I'm going to go into this. This is the finished look. I hope you really enjoyed this video using the Pat McGrath Celestial Odyssey palette to do my cheeks and also my eyes. If you have a palette that you think would work really well to do something like this, leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to check it out. These are things I like to do, is use palettes in different ways or also use products in different ways, because I think finding a way to make your products versatile is the best way to get the most bang for your buck. You know, if a video like this is something you'd like to see in the future, and I will keep them coming to you. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.